Dad continues his controlling ways and now has no contact with both of his sons. TLDR, Dad is a selfish, angry and controlling individual. Gets into arguments with his sons, and plenty of other people, because they won't live exactly how he wants or do exactly what he wants. Is surprised when they stop speaking to him. Continues to believe he is the victim ***. Background ***. My dad has always had control and anger issues. He worked hard to give my mom, brother, and I what we needed, but he was not really emotionally there. Growing up with him was tough. If I vacuumed and did not do it exactly how he would do it, he would make comments. If you did something wrong once, he would immediately say you never do anything right. Could not fathom that people make mistakes and mistakes happen. Especially since he made plenty of them. Just never admitted to it. He had friends and relatives live with us without ever asking my mom, brother or I if we would be okay with it. Not asking my mom, who is the person that ends up taking on the additional work, was the most annoying thing for me. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. I was okay sharing a room with my brother. Not quite okay sharing it with an uncle for years, another relative, and once even some random guy who was a friend of a friend. He sacrificed the comfort of me, my mom and my brother to make himself look good by offering space to these people for long periods of time, think years, not days. Plenty more examples of his selfish and controlling behavior. Not to mention him having a short fuse. Despite all this, he did work hard, had his moments, and I will always appreciate the things he did do. We had everything we needed. First son goes NC***. A couple of summers ago, my dad and I got into an argument. Argument was over me and my wife's dog. My dad is a very religious Muslim and has gotten more religious as he ages. For example, he took down all of the pictures they had of people, as you are not supposed to have that in Islam. He still listens to music though, so I don't want to get started on the hypocrisy displayed on a regular basis by him and the Muslim community I grew up in general. Islam is not a fan of dogs being in a home. My wife and I do not live with my parents. We have our own home, and I told my parents my wife and I would be keeping the dog she had before we got into a relationship. I love this dog. I thought I got it through to my dad that the dog was here to stay. I even got an imam to talk to him about it. He brought it up again one day while he was over at our house and asked when we were getting rid of the dog. I tell him we aren't and he needs to stop asking about it. This started a big argument between me and him. He went home and I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. When he got home, my brother was there. He told my brother the story and my brother told him he was wrong to make demands of my wife and I. My dad got into an argument with my brother. It got close to being physical, so my brother left. My brother at the time had his phone service under my parents' family plan. My dad cancelled his number, so I had to call the phone company. I have access since I'm the one who usually manages issues for him. My dad would then cancel the service again. Being real petty. I eventually just added my brother to my phone plan. After this incident, my brother went no contact with both of our parents. This was the last straw for him. He went no contact with our mom because she is an enabler. That requires a different post. To this day, my dad still does not understand why my brother is no longer in contact with him. I understood my brother's decision and have not tried to change his mind. I stayed in contact with my dad, but low contact. Second son goes NC**. Now to a couple of weeks ago. My dad and I once again got into an argument. My wife and I have a newborn. I was so excited for my parents to have their first grandchild. As much of an ass my dad is and has been, I've seen how well he interacts with my little cousins, and I incorrectly thought being a grandparent may mellow him down. I figured there would be some disagreements, as a lot of grandparents think since they raised kids, they know exactly what to do. Even if they raised those kids 25+ years ago. Unfortunately, his controlling ways and anger issues reared their ugly head in a bad way. We were over at my parents' so they could see my newborn son, and because 2 of my cousins were visiting to see my newborn son as well. Things went fine until my wife and I were getting ready to leave. My son was being a bit fussy as we were putting him into the car seat. That happens. Babies get fussy and cry a bit. Once we get the car seat in the car and get going, he normally calms down. If he didn't, we would just give him a bottle as he was probably hungry. We had already changed and burped him at this point. My dad starts saying we should give him gripe water. I tell my dad that the baby is fine, just being a bit fussy. My dad insists again, so I tell him I'm not giving him gripe water. We asked our pediatrician about it, and our pediatrician said to hold off on gripe water since our baby was still pretty small. Our son was born almost 3 weeks early and is very small, so we are being cautious. We also don't want to give him anything besides breast milk and formula if it's not really necessary, which it was not in this case. This sets my dad off. He goes off about what the fuck do doctors know. He raised 2 kids. He gave my brother gripe water when he was 2 days old. That is obviously bullshit because he didn't even know about gripe water until he visited one of his friends and they told him about it. Not only that, but my brother was born late and at a normal weight. His situation is not the same as my son's. My dad then does his usual thing of taking one issue, escalating it and going off about everything. He goes on to say don't come around anymore even with the baby. Calls me a kafir, my wife a kafir and my son a kafir. This is an Islamic insult. My mom is trying to calm him down because he is yelling all of these things 2 feet next to me and the car seat my son is in. My teenage cousins are also hearing all this. At this point, my wife has taken our son out of the apartment and into the hall. I am trying to leave as well, but my dad continues to yell. He has now moved on to how we have not given him a cent, how he got us educated and put us through college for us to never give him anything back, how we basically don't do shit for him and some other things I don't recall exactly. Just a lot of horse shit. I have paid for my parents' cable.internet bill for the past 12+ years even though I have not lived with them for years. I just recently paid for their tickets, which was about $2,800 to go to our home country, and have paid for other random things like ordering them pizza when my cousins are over their house and my mom does not feel like cooking. He says he got us educated, but he did crap like telling us he'd pay for our college and then telling us after a semester that he wouldn't. Basically leaving us in the middle of a semester scrambling. He told my brother he would only pay if he agreed to marry a woman from our country. Understand if he does not want to pay, but tell us that before we decide on a school so we can make an informed decision. He still brags to his friends that he put us through school though. He says we never do shit for him even though both of my parents come to me for legal, tax, finance, tech and basically any issue. Keeping a tally of what you've done for your kids and throwing it in their face is bullshit. Especially when you've basically done a little above the bare minimum. After taking his yelling right in my face, I left and have not spoken to him since. Told my mom we are not speaking to him and he is not seeing us anymore. If he gets some therapy in anger management, maybe we can see what happens. He has to make a change though. Of course, the last time I spoke to my mom, she told me he'd been crying. As usual, he is the victim. Here's to hoping I don't continue this cycle.